Coach, wondering if you could give us an update on the players today who are not in practice. Thanks.
Okay. So Dylan DeMelo is in practice, but he won't make the road trip. He's going to stay back with his wife and new baby, who are fine. As you can imagine, getting people into support and help right now is very difficult with all of the quarantining issues. So Dylan's going to stay home. Tucker Poolman is in the COVID protocol related. So he will not make the trip. Patty couldn't warm up right during practice. I don't even know if I'm going to list him as day-to-day yet. We'll wait till we get tomorrow to see how he's feeling. Nikolaj is not in the protocol. We expect him on the plane today. He's still dealing with his issue from the other day.
Let's go to Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press.
Hey, Paul. Just to clarify, Nick's still dealing with the absence he had before, but played a game in between.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
So it's a non-COVID issue. So it's an injury or illness.
Oh, okay. So it's he's not in a COVID protocol absence then, or he is?
Correct.
Okay. Sorry about that. My mistake. That's actually not what I wanted to ask you about. I wanted to ask you about the schedule. Just with the 5 and 7 games, or 5 games in 7 days, 6 and 9. I know that's a unique part of it. Josh made a great point in that you're in the same city for a lot of those. So I'm just wondering how you see the challenges of having that kind of condensed schedule.
You know what? For most of these guys, they haven't seen it, but it was something that was in the league. I'd seen it before early on, and probably in the early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s. It happened. It didn't happen a lot, but you can kind of almost got one a year. So you can manage it. You're probably not skating your team on off days. You've got to balance your ice time. You got to be real careful about, pushing players early. But if your game's right and you have enough depth, then it can be a good thing. Players get into a rhythm. You just do. I mean, injuries become a problem for them. You get into that kind of situation, get banged up. It can be a challenge, but it's all about recovery, right? Rest, making sure that they get enough rest, and not traveling, as Josh mentioned, is a big part of that. If you're not moving cities, for me, it's the time you get them off the plane that affects you more than anything else. If you can get into the town and get them into the hotel before 2 a.m., I think players are pretty resilient. When you start moving them around and it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning before they get down, that's a real recovery challenge. But I think it helps. We're not rolling through airports really. We don't have all those things that kind of drag on you. So I think we should be able to survive it.
Paul Edmonds, Jets Radio.
Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time today. We talk about quarterbacking the power play with Neil Pionk and Josh Morrissey. What is the key to quarterbacking the power play up top? And I guess in football parlance, how important is that first read?
Yeah, I think and power plays have changed so much over the last 10 or 15 years about what's expected by that defenseman. Of course, for a long time we ran 2, and then you get to the 1, and we started to see teams, and we would be one of them, that the shots off the flank became, the most dangerous shots. And so Patrik Laine shot. I think one of the key things is that the other team has to believe he's a threat to shoot the puck. So puck movement, clearly, deception, really important time. Be able to take the puck across your body and put it right on the tape. But the underrated skill, and maybe the most important thing, is that player has to be a threat to shoot the puck, and in doing so, that threat will draw people to the shot lane. And power play is all about opening up about 6 to 12 inches ice for these guys. They don't need much more than that. Those things happen so fast. But that guy up top moves their box, moves their killers in a way to open up those shots.
Sarah or Lesky from TSN.
Hi, Paul. Just wondering, so if you don't have the option of Tucker Poolman or Dylan DeMelo, who are we going to see draw in?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And
isn't it? Thanks.
Excellent question. I'm going to leave that till game time. Because we've always, got nicks and bumps and things like that you're dealing with. So I'll have a better answer for you tomorrow.
Next to Kelly Moore.
Hey, Paul, you may have answered this already, but I don't remember hearing it. So I'm going to ask again. With respect to the guys that go on CPRA, or if you acquire guys who are quarantining, do they count against the salary cap? And does that also go into how you make your roster decisions on a day-to-day basis?
So you've got your 23-man roster, and you've got how they're accounted for. To be honest with you, I don't know. That's just the truth. That's a management thing in terms of how that money stacks up. We've got our 23-man roster, and your taxi squad are all paid at a different rate than your roster's paid at. So I don't know.
Ken Weave from Sportsnet.
Thanks, Paul. Mark Scheifele, 26-21 in the opener. I know he would love to do that every night, but what's the sweet spot for him coming up with this 6-9 stretch?
Yeah, so I told Mark that today. I said, I can usually tell at the end of the game within a minute or two where a player ended up. That one surprised me. I think there was an overlap on the power play, maybe with he and Patty, but Patty was in the box for 4 minutes, so that affected it. But no, that's absolutely not the plan going into 5 and 7. One of the key pieces that made it work, first of all, he's a very fit guy, but his shift length 5-on-5 was just slightly over 45, and that's the key driver. He recovers very, very well. You are going to see, basically whoever doubles on the power play. With what we're running right now, his minutes are going to be high, but those are going to be power play minutes. So he was at about 7 minutes on the power play, which is a big, big number. As long as they're not breaking the puck out an awful lot and going up and down the ice, he can certainly handle it.
Paul Friesen from the Winnipeg Sun.
Hey, Paul, can you help us understand the difference between the Ehlers situation of a couple of days ago and the Tucker Poolmans, where one you didn't have to cancel practice, one you did? Is it just a matter of the number of close contacts, or are you able to clarify?
We just clear that. I didn't have to cancel practice yesterday. So that was just our decision, button of a con. So there's about 5 or 6, my understanding is about 5 or 6 different things that will put you into the protocol. And the results of those are different. The reason that you go in times the reason that you come out. So I'm not allowed to tell you how a guy went in or why a guy went in, but I can give you an example that if you had a sore throat today and came in and said, my throat's a little sore, you're out, and you're out of the room and you are in the protocol. Now, we'll test you out and you continue to test negative, and you know what? Your symptom disappeared, and you're no longer part of it. So, like I said, how you come in, and I can't tell you, I'm not allowed to tell you why a player gets put into this, will result on how fast you get out, is the best explanation I can give you.
Yeah, okay.
So if a guy doesn't want to practice that day, he's coming in and says he's got the chills, and then he's going to make a quick recovery the next day.
Brian Munns from TSN 1290.
Paul, just expanding on Sarah's question, I know you didn't want to say who will play, but can you just talk about the camps that Samberg and Stanley have had and what you've seen from them over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, both really, really good. Dylan Samberg, we don't know. I mean, we've had him at development camps, but he kind of worked his way into the main group after 3 or 4 days with the smaller group. He looks strong, and he's fit right in out here. Logan made a major commitment this summer to his fitness level, and really showed right from the start that he was in a completely different place than at any point since we've had him. So both have had strong camps, and both are certainly in consideration now when there's an opportunity to go in the lineup.
Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet.
Hey, Paul. You kind of answered this a little bit, but in yesterday, in that you didn't have to cancel the practice. But just give me an idea as a coach with this COVID situation going on and the way things are able to change. how much your day changes or how much your plan is blown up and how difficult it is to put a new one back together. Just basically the adapting to the situations you've already run into this year.
Yeah. Well, the first thing you learn is, you see, there's a schedule in the NHL and there's a routine that as coaches you get into, and then you want to make sure that you don't adhere to it. So what you do is you get all your work done that you might have a few days to do, and you get it done 2 or 3 days early, because you're going to have another thing that you're going to have to deal with, either changing practice times, canceling practices. You have an idea of what you want to work on the next day, and that gets thrown out the window. So that kind of flexibility, maybe adaptability to the new environment, but is important, right? I think that going through it once has really, really helped, Sean. Like having that bubble experience told us that we laid out our plan for training camp, but we knew that there were going to be disruptions to it. So get all your work done as soon as you possibly can, with the understanding something's going to take big chunks of your time down the road that you wouldn't have had to worry about in the past. So it was a really orderly last 2 or 3 days, right? So there's always things that have to be dealt with and decisions have to be made. There's a pretty strong protocol, a very strong protocol in place from the league, from the province of Manitoba. So we just are reacting to that with the new information that we get every time, and then kind of flowing in a different direction. So understanding it, and really helps with kind of the attitude you approach it. And then when you hit the ice, everything stops, right? All the outside noise stops, whether it's practices or the game. Those are the best parts of our day.
Tim Campbell, once again.
Paul, I don't know if Patrik is an option for you tomorrow, but if he is, could you guess as to how much he looks forward to playing against Austin Matthews, and maybe how much do you look forward to that?
Well, it's that one might be. I wouldn't guess for Patrik on Austin. I mean, they're connected in that draft. Other than that, Toronto certainly. They're a little bit like us in a lot of ways. They got some young high-end players that are coming of age, so they're exciting to watch and they're dynamic to watch. And usually when our team plays, there's a good reason to watch the game. It's pretty darn exciting. The coaches are left wanting for a little more defense, but they're two skilled teams, two skilled players that you're talking about. They reflect the makeup of their hockey team as they should, and it'll be fun to watch.
Mark is the last question today.
Paul, I could be wildly wrong with this one, so hopefully you're in a kind, generous spirit. You and I talked a while back about man-to-man defense in your zone, and it looked to me on Thursday night as if you had a winger dropping into the middle of the ice to kind of help with that in the middle of the ice. And how does that help protect the house and reduce those chances?
Yeah. So I think just the general narrative that I hear about defensive zone coverages is that they're one or the other. And that's not accurate to what happens during a game. There are times when teams are in a man-to-man situation, and there are others, and the old word would be zone or collapse, or there's a bunch of different ways people describe what happens. So we feel the best way to look at this is if you see a team in man-to-man defensive zone coverage, they're probably not very happy, right? They don't have any contact on the puck. They don't have any containment. They can't get it stopped. The other team is moving, and you're just going to see it against Toronto because they have so much motion in the offensive zone. Their D are so active. You're not always going to get that puck to the wall and get it stopped where you can outnumber and outman people. The weak side winger controlling the slot areas is important, and you'll see that more when you have that containment. So it won't look as man-to-man when you see that. But the slot's the most dangerous part of the ice. The inner slot, considerably more than the outer slot. But those two places are where we've got to do a better job of eliminating chances. And we did against Calgary, clearly in the second 2 periods. But overall, the number that came out of that was pretty positive for us.